Hello and welcome. In a recent video, we looked at the gaming benchmarks for the Legion Slim 5 from Lenovo for 2024. This update to a very popular laptop from prior years put up some very good numbers. Now it's time to take a look at the fan noise and the surface temps on this laptop. Will this be a cool customer, or is it going to be a hot plate affair? Oh, and as a bonus, stay tuned till the end to see the GPU power levels running 4 select games to see where the RTX 4070 sits in 2024. I think you'll be pleased. Before we begin though, please click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when there's new content available here. Let's begin. We'll keep commentary to a minimum here so you can listen to the actual fan noise. The noise has been boosted about 10 decibels so you can hear it, and it's actually more expressive of the type of sound you hear. Things do start to heat up as you go into balance mode, and the fans do start to kick up quite a bit from what we saw in quiet mode, but the noise level starts to certainly increase. Taking a look at the surface temperatures here, starting out with quiet mode, we see that the Lenovo Legion Slim 5 performs pretty well for 2024. Overall, the keyboard is nice and comfortable. It's nice and cool. There's no real hot spots here, and as we pan across the QWERTY keyboard deck, we'll see that in quiet mode, pretty much everything stays under 40 degrees, and if we're particularly interested in around the WASD area, we're somewhere in the high 30s. Definitely not uncomfortable by any means, and you can use it easily for extended periods of time. It does seem that Lenovo does quite a good job even with these 16-inch relatively compact laptops, and the Lenovo Slim 5 for 2024 seems to be no exception to that rule. The Lenovo Slim 5 for 2023 was one of the very popular and one of the most popular laptops also on my channel as well, and we're seeing here that it may be in line to become the that competitor as well. Moving along to balance mode, as we turn up some of the power levels to the GPU and the CPU here in this particular mode, we're still getting a fairly respectable, temperatures as we pan across the keyboard here, sitting in the high 30s, mid to high 30s, pretty much across the WASD keys. There are some hot spots in the center there, and because we still have a little bit of a shelf out back, that's where most of the heat is being exhausted, so you're not going to feel any excess amount of heat here under your fingertips as you work or you play during those hot and heated gaming sessions. That said though, not much of a difference in terms of an increase versus what we saw in the quiet mode. We're still at right around 41 to 42, maybe around 43 degrees max as we pan across the deck of the device here. So a pretty good showing overall. And what do you think about these temperatures? Are you going to be using this in balance mode? Do you prefer to play in performance mode? And that said, let's segue here and we'll take a look at the performance mode temperatures. As you can see here, we pan across, things do start to heat up a little bit as we're getting quite a lot of power now to that CPU as well as that GPU. Keep in mind that even though those Ryzen CPUs are more efficient than the Intel ones, they can still take up a lot of juice if you let them run wild here. And that GPU here, the RTX 4070, is using quite a lot of wattage as well. We'll see here in a moment what those power levels are. But as we pan across the keyboard, again, nothing discomfortable or nothing that's going to cause discomfort, nothing to complain about. Certainly a big step up from what we saw just a few years ago with gaming laptops featuring the 2000 and even some of the 3000 series in this form factor and size from Lenovo and others. So a pretty good showing overall for the Lenovo Legion Slim 5 for 2024 for surface temperatures across the deck of the device. As we look at the power levels here, we start to see something that's reminiscent a little bit of what we saw last year, and there's some changes for this year. So looking at 2023, when the RTX 4070 was released in new laptops in January, and as some of the first laptop models rolled around in February and March, we saw that there was a limit which basically rendered the RTX 4070 pinned to about 100 watts during gaming workloads. It was quite frustrating to see, considering that the rating that was provided by NVIDIA was 140 watts max TGP. that was 25 watts of dynamic boost and 115 watts of typical TGP on that GPU. We're still only getting about 8 gigabytes of VRAM, but as we just saw here, we're getting that full 140 watts max on that Fairmark benchmark, the only one that was able to demonstrate the same last year. With this year, there's been quite a significant improvement. As we can see here, running Borderlands 3, a bit of an older game, but still a stress on the GPU. We're getting about 130 watts, sometimes 133 watts as we play the benchmark here. So it is a significant improvement from what we saw last year. If we look here now at Cyberpunk 2077, it is a mixed bag though. Not all games are able to tap into that dynamic boost, but nonetheless, it looks like we are getting the full TGP regardless of whether dynamic boost is running or not. So we're running here Cyberpunk 2077 at the native QHD resolution of this display. That's how all these power levels are being demonstrated to you. And we're seeing about 115 watts more or less running through the benchmark here on the game. So pretty impressive here, and keep in mind that this means all these games are very nicely playable, and you're not going to have any issues with being able to throw any game at this machine and be able to play. And it's also closing the gap this year between the RTX 4070 and the 4080. There is still a significant performance improvement though with the 4080, and we'll have to tackle that in a later video with some later testing. So in this game here, we see that we're closer to about 100 watts. There's the occasional jump up to around 110 watts, but it seems like this game is more CPU dependent, or perhaps straddling both CPU and GPU as a potential explanation or a plausible explanation, which means we're not getting not even the full TGP of that GPU because the CPU needs to drive this game, and of course that will vary from game to game. One of the best shows for this RTX 4070 this year into 2024 is F123. And we see here that we're in the 135 watts of range. That means we're getting not only the typical TGP, which is 115 watts, plus we're dipping quite heavily into that dynamic boost as well to try to push all the way up to 140 watts. That is very nice to see, and we're seeing that the performance here is excellent. So you should be very pleased with this, and I think this is a fantastic showing and a big improvement from what we saw last year.
Well, there you have it. In my humble opinion, the Legion Slim 5 for 2024 knocks it out of the park once more. It's a refinement on an already great formula. And with those power levels on the RTX 4070 finally up there as we'd like to see, this laptop should definitely be on your shortlist. Stay tuned for the full review coming up soon, where we'll discuss the overall value and take a complete and detailed look around this laptop. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this content, please click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when there's new content available here. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.